So if we do end up getting a September Nintendo Direct, I don't think we should expect games like The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, or any of the Zelda games showing up, and there's a very good reason for that. But I do fully expect Bayonetta 3, No More Heroes 3, and maybe even Splatoon 3 to be there as well. And maybe, just maybe, games that we don't even know about, games in 2022 and 2023. Hey guys, it's Rob here, and welcome back to the Robo-chan Show, where we cover the latest gaming news, leaks, and rumors from Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo in 2020 and beyond. If you want to be kept up on the latest gaming news, make sure you click that red subscribe button below this video and that notification bell so you know when I upload. And if you're interested, I have a Patreon, which link to that will be in the pinned comment along with my Twitter account. In this video, we are going to talk about a new Nintendo leak by Samus Hunter on a possible September Nintendo Direct. What Nintendo Switch games could we see there, and what games I don't think will be there as well. We also have other news stories for you as well. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, it helps the video reach more viewers when you do that, and if you want to follow me on Twitter and help me reach my goal of 700 followers, you can follow me at Roborob93. Without further delay, let's get to the video. So I think we can all say that the Nintendo Switch is not done with its massive growth just yet, with games like the Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, and Metroid Dread, and even Shin Megami Tensei 5, which I'm personally excited for, still on its way. And that doesn't even include games that we don't even know about like Bayonetta 3, Nintendo Switch games that could be revealed at a Nintendo Direct in September, and that September Nintendo Direct may have been leaked by Samus Hunter. Now before we continue, I want to make sure that everyone watching this video right now understands that this could be wrong, this could be fake, it could be not real. When you're talking about leaks, rumors, and all these kind of things, that's always a possibility. So I would go forward considering this Nintendo Switch leak fake until September passes, and if it ends up being right, cool. If not, well, we weren't expecting anything anyways. So this is what Samus Hunter has to say. After teasing this in a couple posts, I'm going to talk about it more clearly. Yes, there is a Nintendo Direct scheduled for September, around the time WarioWare launches. It is useless to make a list of games passing them off as certain because, in fact, I still have nothing in hand. It's too early, but crossing some data, I can tell you things that are very likely. Surely the focus game will be Metroid Dread, while Advance Wars and Mario Party will have sections dedicated to some new features. So this would make a lot of sense since considering all of these games had extensive gameplay reveals at E3 2021, except Advance Wars, that was a trailer. Now because these games are that far along in development, focusing them on a Nintendo Direct in September is a no-brainer for Nintendo, especially Metroid Dread since that game is coming out very soon by the time we get to September. With that being said, Splatoon 3 wasn't shown off in detail at E3 2021, and when speaking about that game, this is what Samus Hunter had to say. If plans for Splatoon 3 don't change, marketing for the title should begin around that time. I doubt in news about the Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel other than a small notice that we'll see in a few months. She also says that a new Kirby project is very likely, which is very interesting because in my last video about a Nintendo leak by New Makomaro, that was one of the games that he said was gonna be coming up for the Nintendo Switch, a RPG focused Kirby game. Video in the top right corner if you want to watch that. It's a pretty good video and it actually passed over 300,000 views, which is pretty crazy. Now speaking on Monolith for a bit, I know there is some talk about them doing some sort of game. I haven't really researched into what game it was or what it's gonna be, but I know there is some talk about a new game coming from Monolith. And by the sounds of it, we may see it at the Nintendo Direct. This is what Samus Hunter had to say. A title developed by Nintendo, Monolith are at a very good point with their project, since a few months have finalized the cutscenes and in recent weeks have worked on much of the music, so the project is entering the final stages. Now going off what she says, if this is true and that it is in its final stages, then I would think if the September Direct does come true, then it would be at that September Nintendo Direct. Now whether or not this is going to be a huge game from Monolith, or is it going to be a smaller project, or is it going to be a sequel to a game, we really don't know. But by the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like it's a port or a remaster of any of their games. It sounds like it's a brand new game. So it could possibly be another Xeno game, or maybe a whole new game, or maybe a whole new franchise. We really don't know. Now for those who are wondering if those Zelda games could appear at this September Nintendo Direct, you may be disappointed by what Samus Hunter has to say in a reply from a Twitter user. The Twitter user asks, will we finally have a Wind Waker / Twilight Princess bundle announced, or is Aonuma really going to break our hearts? And her reply was, I hope you have another heart or a fairy in a bottle. Pretty much saying, yeah, it's not gonna appear at all. So this makes a lot of sense when you consider the current talk about the Zelda games. At the Nintendo Direct, Nintendo didn't outright say that we weren't going to do these games, they said they weren't doing them at at that time, which means there's gonna be another time when they probably will do those games, and this goes into the idea of Nintendo waiting for a space to put these games in when they don't have a lot of releases. Breath of the Wild 2 has a possible release date of 2022, but if it gets delayed, I think Nintendo would use these games to hold fans over until Breath of the Wild 2 is available for purchase. Anyways, if you guys want to learn on how these Zelda 35th anniversary games could still be coming, you can click the top right corner of this video. The next part of this string of tweets talks about a game that we haven't heard in a very long time, and that is Bayonetta 3. This game is starting to be as elusive as Breath of the Wild 2 was, and according to Samus Hunter, we may be getting something at this Nintendo Direct, and this is what Samus Hunter has to say. Bayonetta 3, which I've already mentioned, should be in a similar situation. There are other titles well underway as well, but those are planned at a generic 2022 or later. I repeat, the moment of new announcements are my guess from some of the data in my possession. Now this does make a lot of sense because Bayonetta 3 was announced a very long time ago and has been in development this whole time. One would assume that they are in the final stages of their development for this game. And if that is true, seeing it at a September Nintendo Direct would be something that could happen, especially since we didn't see it at the E3 2021 Nintendo Direct, which still kind of blows my mind. If they do show it at a September Direct, I wonder why they held off for so long. There can't be too much you can get done within that amount of time between E3 2021 and September. But anyways, moving on to the next part, there is something interesting for you indie lovers. This is what Samus Hunter had to say. It is too early at the moment to pass them as confirmed for that presentation. In closing, however, I can tell you that Nintendo is working on the next Indie World scheduled before that. Now, because she says before that, before the September Nintendo Direct, I'm thinking that we'll probably get an Indie Direct possibly in the next coming weeks. This will be a good way to tell if this is true or not, because if we don't get a Indie Nintendo Direct, we probably won't get a September Nintendo Direct. But on the flip side, if we do end up getting an Indie Nintendo Direct, we're probably gonna get a September Nintendo Direct. It's gonna be interesting to see if this comes true or not. Now remember, take this all with a grain of salt, especially considering that in her tweets she says she doesn't have all the info from her sources. And for those who want to check out the tweets themselves, a link to that will be in the pinned comment. So if this Nintendo Switch leak does come true, I don't think we'll see Breath of the Wild 2 at the Nintendo Direct in any way. I think that they have plans for that game later on, maybe next year during the E3 2022, and I don't think we're gonna get anything like a new Breath of the Wild 2 trailer at this Nintendo Direct. No More Heroes 3, on the other hand, comes out in less than a month, so a trailer is probably going to appear at a September Nintendo Direct if this is true. Now speaking on Splatoon 3, I think the game is far enough along that we'll see some sort of gameplay on it. Maybe not a full-blown gameplay segment, but there's gonna be some teases for that gameplay, I think. Shin Megami 5, on the other hand, could receive another gameplay trailer. I think that's one of the bigger Nintendo Switch games that are coming out, and it's coming out in November, so keeping that excitement for the players of this game is something that Nintendo will want to do. And what better way to do that with a new trailer? Next up, we have some Nintendo Switch news. Hack GU has been rated for the Nintendo Switch. This most likely means it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, which just so happened to appear around the rumored September Nintendo Direct appearing too. Funny coincidence? Maybe not. Now, according to Nintendo Life, last time this happened, it happened to Ni no Kuni 2, and eventually we did get an announcement for that game coming to Nintendo Switch. So this follows the trend of Bandai Namco porting a lot of their games to the Nintendo Switch. And moving on to the next topic, it seems that CNET has published an article which brought up an interesting problem that could affect OLED users of the new Nintendo Switch. And that problem is screen burn. Now, Nintendo has come out and said some words on this, and this is what they said. We've designed the OLED screen to aim for longevity as much as possible, but OLED displays can experience image retention if subjected to static visuals over a long period of time. However, users can take preventative measures to preserve the screen by utilizing features included in the Nintendo Switch systems by default, such as auto brightness function to prevent the screen from getting too bright, and the auto sleep function to go into auto sleep mode after short periods of time. So by Nintendo's own words, it seems like this is something that is going to happen to Nintendo Switch OLED users. So if you're someone who uses the Nintendo Switch in handheld mode for a very long time, this is something that could happen to you, so be careful if you did pre-order one. It's going to be interesting to see if this is a huge problem such as the other problems that the Nintendo Switch has, like Joy-Con drift, or is this something going to be contained to a smaller demographic of Nintendo Switch OLED users? I guess we'll have to wait and see. And that's it for today, guys. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below about the new Nintendo Switch leaks and of course the news that we covered today. Thanks for watching, guys, and remember, stay safe, stay charged, and have a good one.